Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. siphysicians.org. Main Source Bank, headquartered in Greensburg, Indiana, offering products and services to fit every stage of life. More information at mainsourcebank.com. Main Source, life needs a great bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company. Fiber Internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. Bloomington's growing population means the city's landscape is constantly changing.
Sometimes people feel like, oh, maybe we're losing some charm and character, but if you go back 30 years, half of downtown was vacant parking lots.
Coming up, how a comprehensive plan that's in development will provide a roadmap for land use and development in the city. Plus, the governor delivered his first State of the State address, but he's drawing criticism from both parties, not for something he said, but for what he didn't say. Indiana has a colorful tattoo history, including Navy sailors, bikers, prison inmates, and of course, Roy Boy Cooper.
He was the guy that would walk around and flaunt his tattoos.
Coming up, we tour an exhibit on the state's tattooing legacy. Those stories, plus the latest news headlines from across the state, right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Bloomington Mayor John Hamilton is questioning the completion date for the stretch of I-69 from Bloomington to Martinsville. That's because of a letter he received from the developers tasked with building Section 5 of the interstate. The letter says the Indiana Finance Authority, Isolex Corson, and I-69 development partners are negotiating to determine, quote, the framework for all parties to recapitalize the project, settle pending disputes, and move forward to achieve substantial completion. Hamilton says the letter leaves him with more unanswered questions because he was supposed to get a detailed timeline for the project back in October. That hasn't happened.
I obviously have a concern that if we're supposed to have a road done in 12 months from October 2016 to 2017, and we can't even get the schedule within 3 months, we have great concern about progress being made.
Section 5 of I-69 was supposed to be completed in October of 2016, but construction isn't scheduled to be finished until October of this year. Some subcontractors temporarily walked off the project last year after the state discovered I-69 development partners owed subcontractors more than $9 million. Indiana Finance Authority Public Finance Director Dan Huge said in a statement, all parties are in discussion to develop a completion schedule, and more information will be presented to city leaders next month. Isolex Corson declined to comment. Governor Eric Holcomb continues to push for a long-term solution to funding infrastructure improvements in Indiana, but he's facing criticism after he failed to offer up any specifics during his first State of the State address this week. How to fund improvements to Indiana's roads and bridges will once again dominate much of the debate at the State House this year. Legislative leaders say they want Governor Eric Holcomb to be a strong voice for the tax increases that will likely be included in the road funding plan. House Republicans want to raise the fuel tax by 10 cents as part of their proposal, but Holcomb will only say asking Hoosiers to invest in infrastructure will be worth it.
When it comes to paying for these projects, I'm open about a menu of options. The fact is, existing sources of revenue are just not keeping up.
House Speaker Brian Bosma says that's not what he was hoping to hear this week.
He's just beginning the discussion, I'm sure. As Senator Long said, he acknowledged that current revenues weren't sufficient to maintain our reputation as the crossroads of America.
But House Minority Leader Scott Pelath is more critical of the governor's lack of specifics.
He is going to send the Republican members of the General Assembly across the minefield, see which of them see which of them take some shrapnel, and then make the evaluation from there.
Holcomb did provide specifics on his plans to boost state pre-K funding by $20 million. But Senate Minority Leader Tim Lannon says that's not enough.
We really should be tripling or quadrupling the amount of funding for early childhood education, because I don't know about you, Leader Pilaf, but I know plenty of areas in the state of Indiana, in my district, both counties, they're primed for early childhood education.
Many of these issues will play out at the State House in the coming weeks. Holcomb's priorities also include addressing the state's drug crisis, giving state police a raise, and seeking to generate $1 billion in investment in Indiana companies over the next 10 years. Bloomington leaders are facing a complicated question. It's not new, but as part of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. It will work as a master plan for city officials when making decisions about Bloomington's future. The plan is under development, and officials are trying to figure out how to accommodate a growing population and still maintain the things that make Bloomington a good place to live. J.D. Gray reports in the final story in our series on downtowns across the state.
If you've lived in Bloomington very long, you probably have some memories downtown.
You know, I like it all pretty much. Yeah.
I feel like we come down at least once a week, at least, and play around, just to get out and ride the bus.
You know, you're walking along the Beeline Trail, you run into a neighbor, you say hi.
Those memories, they're a part of downtown's appeal. Kopic would know she's led Downtown Bloomington, Inc. for 30 years. The nonprofit organization's goal is to revitalize downtown, or rather, maintain its importance. They connect people, get them to partner on projects, and give them a voice in downtown issues.
You know, I mean, we used to just hear a coin drop in the downtown in the afternoon. There would be nobody walking around, and that seems really odd to think about right now.
There were about 6,500 people working downtown and 1,500 residents when Kopic started. Now?
We have 13,000 employees in the downtown now. We have 8,000 residents, which is a dramatic increase from what we used to have.
The employees, double. The residents, that's an increase of more than 500%. And from a draft of the master plan, the number of residential units downtown approximately doubled from 1,800 to 3,700 between the years 2000 and 2016. With an increase in density comes challenging decisions about the downtown's appearance. That's where the Planning Commission comes in.
You have two ends of the scale, right? I mean, you have the very adamant preservationists that really want things to stay the same, regardless if they have historic or structural integrity, right? I mean, this is part of the fabric of Bloomington. And then you have people who say, hey, I like moving and shaking. I want to transform this place and keep some of that old, but still put some new. And neither one is right or wrong, right? They both are correct. It's hard for staff and Plan Commission to find that balance, and that's what we do on meeting nights.
The Plan Commission approved more housing downtown last week. Site plans for a 2-unit townhome with 9 bedrooms were approved for this area. Multi-use apartment buildings with retail or restaurant space are popping up throughout downtown as well. Kopic says the new residents and visitors downtown support businesses and amenities.
And, you know, sometimes people feel like, oh, maybe we're losing some charm and character, but, you know, if you go back 30 years, half of downtown was vacant parking lots.
Charm and character are important to the city. In the current draft of the master plan, there is a chapter dedicated to downtown. It says, it is important that Bloomington continues to support a diverse and robust downtown that is not purely student-centric businesses, nor predominantly multifamily student housing. Bloomington's downtown has a rich sense of place that is key to the continued success of the city and Indiana University alike. Langley says one way to achieve this is by thinking about how people see buildings when they walk by them. She says things like details and awnings can make a big difference.
It's that psychological element, and that is what I feel like is going to be that marriage between the old and the new. We just have to figure out how to capture it.
And so, in 2040, what will downtown look like?
I think you're going to say, I remember this place, but it's different from what I remember. Some people are excited about that. Some people are not excited about that.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm J.D. Gray.
You can find the current draft on the city's website. Now for headlines, we go over to Barbara Brozier, who has the latest on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. East Chicago officials plan to renew their request for an emergency declaration over the city's lead contamination after then-Governor Mike Pence turned them down before he left office. East Chicago's mayor sought the designation in December, hoping it would make more programs available to residents who are being forced to leave their homes. The city released a letter yesterday in response to a public records request. The letter from Pence's office says a disaster declaration wasn't needed because the situation was already being addressed. The city is now drafting a new letter to new Governor Eric Holcomb. A Senate committee approved language that would amend Indiana's constitution to require the General Assembly to pass a balanced budget. This is the amendment's second time in the legislature. It easily passed the General Assembly last time. Now, if it passes again this session or next, it will go to voters for their approval in the 2018 general election. A state lawmaker wants to require those driving all-terrain vehicles and passengers under the age of 18 to wear helmets. The bill went before a state house committee this week. The committee heard from ER doctors, hospital administrators, as well as the mother and friends of a child who died while operating an ATV. Ashley Bruggenschmidt's daughter, Kate, died in an ATV accident in July of 2015. She spoke about the need for new laws concerning ATVs.
ATVs are largely unregulated. I don't believe there's been an ATV law in 30 years. And the machines are bigger, they're faster, and they're killing our kids.
The Indiana Department of Natural Resources says it saw a record number of ATV deaths last year, with 21 people dying in accidents, and there were more than 200 injuries. The bill is an attempt to increase ATV safety, not only by making it illegal for minors to ride an ATV without a helmet, but also by raising public awareness about unsafe ATV use.
The essence of the bill actually is that House Bill 1200 is to educate young riders about safety and awareness. That's really my main purpose of that, but really the intent is to make sure that kids under the age of 18 are wearing the proper protection. We have too many accidents in the state, and make sure they have a helmet while they're riding these ATVs.
The next move for the bill is in February when it's heard in the House Roads and Transportation Committee. Now for an update to a story we told you about last week, the American Legion of Indiana is moving forward with its push to get Congress to recognize marijuana as a drug with medical value. The Legion passed a resolution last week asking state lawmakers to develop a medical marijuana program. Several bills are on file at the State House that propose legalizing medical marijuana or the use of cannabis oil for medical treatment. Indiana Supreme Court Chief Justice Loretta Rush says e-filing is set to go statewide in the next 2 years, and she's asking the legislature for nearly $7 million to do it. The message came during her annual State of the Judiciary address.
In just 18 months, we've expanded this technology to over 25% of counties, totaling 30,000 filings each week.
Rush also used part of her 2017 address to honor Justice Robert Rucker. He is the longest tenured justice currently on the state Supreme Court and will retire later this year. The state legislature will consider a law to curb Indiana's smoking rate. More than 11,000 adults die each year from smoking in the state. Indiana's current cigarette tax is just under $1 per pack. Now, research shows if people pay more per pack, they'll be more likely to quit or less likely to start in the first place. Similar efforts to raise the tax have failed in past sessions, but proponents are hopeful that the measure can get through the legislature this year. Indiana is among the states asking a federal court to block final rules from the Obama administration designed to reduce the impact of coal mining on streams. Critics maintain that the stream protection rule imposes one-size-fits-all regulations that violate states' rights. The U.S. Interior Department argues that the rule will protect 6,000 miles of streams. The city of Carmel says residents have 10 days to stop advertising their homes as short-term rentals on popular websites like Airbnb and VRBO. The city also says doing so violates local zoning requirements. The city of Bloomington is also considering regulating short-term rental properties, but hasn't worked out the details. A state legislator is proposing a bill that would prevent Indiana cities from banning short-term rentals. A road near downtown New Albany has been named after our now former president, Barack Obama. The street formerly known as Rias Lane has been renamed Barack Obama Way, as ordered by the city's mayor. The road is an extension of an industrial park that had infrastructure funded by the federal government.
He wanted to recognize the contribution of the federal government, and especially through the administration of President Obama.
The city got about $4 million in federal funds to add a road, sewer system, and other utilities in a 40-acre industrial park. And Joe, the city says it now has the infrastructure to attract more companies and jobs to the area.
Well, very good news for the economy of New Albany.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk, we talk to an expert about a rare bird that is making itself at home in Indiana. And what do bikers, sailors, and tigers have in common? They're all part of an Indiana's tattoo history. Stay with us because coming up, we'll explain how they're all connected as we take you on a tour of a new exhibit dedicated to the state's tattooing legacy. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
I can change the world with my own 2 hands, make it a better place with my own 2 hands. I'm gonna make it a brighter place with my own 2 hands. I'm gonna help the human race with my own 2 hands. I can hold you in my own 2 hands, and I can comfort you with my own 2 hands, with my own 2 hands.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. The reward for information in a recent fatal shooting of a whooping crane near Goose Pond is now $10,000. The birds are endangered and they're quite rare in the Hoosier State. Joining us now to discuss the birds is non-game bird biologist for the Indiana DNR, Allison Gillette. Thank you very much for being here today. So I know these birds, as we said, are very rare. How many are there total in the U.S. and then here in Indiana?
Right, so that's a great question. There are about 440 in the wild, 160 in captivity, so around 600 in the global population, which is not very many. In Indiana specifically, it depends on the time of the year, but typically we get in the winter about 35 now, and that's a lot. In this past surveying and monitoring effort last week, we had counted around 15 to 16.
Right. You say a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot. Tell us a bit about the crane's migration path. How long do they stop in Indiana?
It's very variable, actually, because the cranes will typically, they were supposed to be trained to go down to Florida. However, they've changed that over time. Ever since the reintroduction started to happen in the late 1970s, they started to try to urge them to go down to Florida by being led by ultralight aircraft, which is incredible, called Operation Migration. But then that changed over time because the individuals who were older, much more mature, and much more experienced were able to lead the young juveniles to places that were typically a little bit more suitable for them, that wasn't as far away. And so that's why they're ending up in Indiana now.
And a lot of them are at the Goose Pond in southwest Indiana, and that was where the dead whooping crane was found. Right. What is about that place? And we just saw some video of it. What is about it that they like?
They love the wetlands. There's just these really large, managed almost looking like very pristine wetlands, very beautiful area. The area is very open, which allows them to be able to forage in those wetlands and then also be able to see their predators. And there's just a lot of very nice, natural, undisturbed habitat for them. And that's what's so particularly important for them.
And if I'm lucky to see one, or anyone is, what should you do?
You should definitely keep your distance. You do not want to condition them to be used to humans. And the whole reason why is because when you have them becoming more used to humans, they will encounter you, they will be curious about you, they will try to encounter you in your car. And they do get hit by vehicles, for sure.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Tattooing is potentially the oldest human art form. It has a storied history in Indiana. Early on, it was a way for sailors to identify themselves as Americans during the war. Now it's more mainstream, with as many as 40% of young people having at least one tattoo. A lot has happened in the past century that led up to the current explosion in popularity. That history is on display in an exhibit dedicated to Indiana's tattooing legacy. Sarah Whitmire reports.
Before you really dive into the exhibit, take a second and get your photo taken with Roy Boy and two nearly life-sized panthers. That introduction gives you a hint of what you're in for.
We're representing his lifestyle and, you know, him being a real icon in tattoo history.
Roy Boy earned his own section of the exhibit. He was a tattoo icon, not just in his hometown of Gary, Indiana, but across the state and the country. Roy Boy began tattooing around the same time it became illegal in the state.
He's kind of like represented that bad boy lifestyle and really didn't give a, you know, what about what other people thought. And, you know, that's admirable.
From 1963 to 1996, you couldn't legally get a tattoo in Indiana. People still did, it's just most of them didn't talk about it.
I'm Bob Zaltzberg, editor of the Herald Times, and on this week's Noon Edition, we'll be discussing the origins and legacy of Indiana's tattoo culture.
You know, he was the guy that you didn't mess with. He was the guy that would walk around and flaunt his tattoos. I truly think in our state he was one of the first ones to really flaunt being tattooed, and it was okay. He didn't care. Because it was illegal, and the time period, even 80s and 90s.
During this time period, tattoo designs changed. They got a lot darker.
In some cases it was racist imagery, in some cases it was, you know, like satanic imagery. But mostly like imagery that if you saw it as a bystander coming up to this person, that you would be intimidated by.
As you walk through the exhibit and into the historical section, you see that some of the earliest tattoos were designed for sailors for practical reasons.
If you didn't have any kind of documentation, you could basically be abducted and then used for labor on war vessels, even if you weren't a British soldier. And so sailors started to get tattoos.
Another Hoosier named Bernard Coble is credited with preserving many of these images. Without them, Sweet says the state's history of tattooing would largely have been lost.
You look at a lot of tattoo books that are done, I'd say 90% of the images are from Coble catalogs. So his role in helping stitch together the history of world tattooing it's probably one of the biggest. It plays the biggest part in helping tell these stories.
It's that it wasn't long after tattooing was legalized that it exploded in popularity. And once it was accessible to the general public and they could see these people, Guns N' Roses and the sports figures and you know, their heroes, all of their heroes, you know, whoever they idolized had tattoos, and now they can go walk down the street and go get one. You know, it's not some speakeasy, shady, you know, situation.
Colin McLean helped curate the exhibit with Sweet. He's been a tattoo artist for 17 years in Bloomington and helps bring the perspective of the current tattooer to the exhibit.
You know, it's pretty strange to me to see how quickly it's all grown and how how quickly it continues to grow.
The contemporary section of the exhibit represents 35 tattoo artists who are working across the state.
There's sheets that, when you look at them, they're nice and neat and clean. And then there's other ones that look like you brought them out of someone's basement fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's ones that look very, very simple, clunky designs, but they're just applied so great and it just looks so awesome.
The wall, like the whole exhibit really, is just a snapshot of the state's tattoo history. Still, Sweet believes it's probably the most comprehensive show ever attempted. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Sarah Whitmire.
You have until February 3rd to see the collection. When the exhibit closes, all of the pieces will go back to their owners. And this sign now greets visitors driving into Columbus. The signs declaring Columbus as the home of Mike Pence went up before he was sworn in today as vice president in Washington. And if you go to our website, we have a timeline there of Mike Pence's political career. And then you can even watch him be inaugurated during the inauguration on Friday. It's at WTIUnews.org. And that's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: IU Health Southern Indiana physicians, primary care and specialty care providers now accepting new patients in Bloomington and throughout South Central Indiana. siphysicians.org. Main Source Bank, headquartered in Greensburg, Indiana, offering products and services to fit every stage of life. More information at mainsourcebank.com. Main Source, life needs a great bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Smithville Fiber, the Gigacity Company, fiber internet, HD, and digital IPTV in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.